Wanted to share a quick video about a problem people are experiencing with workflow and forward revisions plus content translation. You can check out these two issues here. One's filed against Workbench moderation and the other is filed against Drupal core's content moderation for more information. But basically it manifests itself when you have some sort of workflow enabled either by Workbench moderation or content moderation with forward revisions plus core's content translation enabled. So in order to reproduce this, you'll need that plus at least one additional language enabled and translation enabled for at least one content type. In this example, I'll use basic page. So what we want to show is that right now, sometimes forward revisions that are published can interfere with other forward revisions that exist on other languages of the same node. So let's go ahead and jump into a demo of how you can recreate this problem. What I have here is a standard install of Lightning, and I've gone ahead and enabled core content translation, and I've defined an additional language, Spanish, and I've enabled translation for the basic page content type. So let's go ahead and add a basic page. And we'll default to the English language here, and we're going to go ahead and publish this. And now I'm going to translate that into Spanish. And I'm going to publish this as well. So here we see the Spanish version of Node 1 and the English version of Node 1. And what I'm going to do is create a forward revision of the English version. And I'm not publishing this, I'm leaving it as draft. And I'm going to do the same for the Spanish version over here. So if we were to open up an anonymous browsing window and take a look at Node 1, I would see the English version, and here I can point my anonymous browser to the Spanish version. So what I'm going to do now is come back to, for example, the English version, and I'm going to publish this draft version. So all's good here. We've published the draft forward revision of the English version of the node, and I would expect to have not modified the Spanish version at all. So when I come over here, I refresh my English version and we see the new version published. And when I come to the Spanish version, I would expect this to still be the original and not forward revision of it. But I see an access denied, and that's because that draft forward revision has become the default revision. So that's the problem. So let's take a look at what the solution is. There's a module that exists by Daniel Vayner at Chapter 3 called Content Translation Workflow that we can use to work around this problem. Of course, Drupal core and content moderation is working on a permanent solution, but that's still experimental. So this module requires a core patch if you're still using Drupal 8.2, which you probably are until April 5th when 8.3.x is released. So I'm going to go ahead and edit our composer JSON file to add that patch in this module. And now let's add the actual module. And we'll run composer update to get the new patch to core and the new module. And now we can enable the new content translation workflow module. And let's go back to our install and go through the same steps again and see if it fixes our problem. So I'm going to go back to content. I'm going to add another piece of translatable content. And I'm going to publish it. And translate it into Spanish. And I'm going to leave this published as well. And let's go ahead and create a forward revision of our translated version. So I'm going to set this to draft. And I'm going to do the same for our English node as well. So once again, I'll open an anonymous browser window, and we'll take a look at node 2, test 2 English. I do not see edited here because that's a forward revision. And let's take a look at the Spanish version. Same thing, test 2 Spanish, and no edited because that's in the forward revision. Now let's come back and let's say we're going to publish our forward revision of our test 2 English node. And if we come back here and look at the English node, we see the edited. And on the Spanish version, the original is still published. It still has a draft revision with edited in the title. The difference being that is no longer a forward revision, and that's kind of a limitation of this module and its workaround. If I come here to the Node 2 Spanish version, note that I no longer have a latest revision tab. And if I go to the revisions tab, I'll notice that my current revision is my latest revision. And that forward revision is actually a past revision now. And that's kind of the way that this module works around that problem. So if we look at this revision here, this is the one that is edited and unpublished. So it's still a draft, it's still a revision, it still exists in the revision tree. It's just no longer a forward revision. So you'll have to adjust some editorial workflows around that, but it's a lot better than content suddenly becoming unpublished as a result of this.